Barbell hip thrusts are a great compound movement for maximizing glute recruitment in the gluteus maximus, which is the largest muscle in the human body. Please note that this exercise can be performed on the Smith machine, a hip thrust machine, or a leg extension machine. Which variation you choose is based on your preference and time available in the gym, as the setup shown in this video can be time consuming. The points remaining can be applied to each of these variations. Firstly, you want to find a bench, a plyometric box, or an aerobic stepper, as you'll see in this video, and place it against a squat rack or a wall so that way the bench doesn't move. An ideal height is where you can sit on the ground, lean back where your scapula can rest against the bench without having to scooch too much to get into position. Most benches at the gym, however, are too high, so be careful if you have to use a bench, because if you scoot into position, you want to do so in a controlled manner. So be careful if you have to scooch up just a tad to get into position. You can also try sitting on something to bring yourself higher, so when you lean back, your scapula is going to be in the correct starting position if you have to use a bench. Next, you want to find an optimal foot position. You can have your toes slightly pointing outwards, but more so you want to focus on bringing your feet back so when you thrust into the air, your shins are almost perpendicular to the ground. Keep in mind that the further your feet are away from your glutes, the more you will feel this movement in your hamstrings, and the closer your feet are to your glutes, you're going to feel this more in your quads. So play with the foot position that is best for you to ensure that you are feeling a strong contraction in your glutes. Before you thrust the barbell up, focus on keeping your trunk nice and tight and make sure that lower back doesn't arch at all. Take a deep breath in to hold that rigid position and then breathe the air out as you thrust the barbell up. As you perform the thrust, you want to maintain the same position of your head where you keep your gaze forward versus to the ceiling. Often when you take your gaze to the roof of the building, you lose that core tightness and often arch your lower back, which of course is not what we want. Also focus on fully locking out your arms at the top of the movement, as that will help ensure that the barbell stays in the same position and doesn't slip all over the place. If you struggle to feel a contraction in your glutes when you bring your hips to a full extension, try pausing for a second or two. Often your glutes just simply take some time before they start to feel a contraction, especially if you have a desk job and are often sitting for multiple hours during the day. So don't be afraid as well to perform a couple of extra warm-up sets to help wake up those glutes and prime them for your working sets. Another cue that you might find helpful is to focus on actively driving your heels down and back when you go to perform the thrust. Your heels, of course, won't actually move, but by visualizing and focusing on pulling your heels back, it allows your glutes to achieve optimal recruitment when your hips are at full extension. Lastly, you just want to bring the barbell slowly and controlled back down to the ground to its starting position, and then simply perform the remaining prescribed rep count in the same controlled and effective manner. And that's the barbell hip thrusts.